never been normal. I never had fixed date. Also, my mom is saying that because you didn't get periods for 5+ months, they are longer now and this period only. And this is a period only. Now I'm confused. Should I consider this period and refrain from praying? Or should I start praying as it is more than 15 days? And I do not want to miss prayers, but I also am having like heavy flow bleeding. So I feel weird praying in such a condition as I'm not sure. Regarding your question that you have not been having paid for 5 months and then you had spotting for a few days, then 1 week you had no spotting and then you had bleeding and now you're bleeding continuously for 17 days. As far as the duration for a woman for the menstrual period is not fixed. It can be 3 days, can be 5 days, can be 7 days, can be 1 week, can be 10 days. It's not fixed. As far as what is the duration in which after so many days can you consider at istihada? That means a non-menstrual bleeding or a vaginal bleeding which is not menstruation. So this vaginal bleeding is called as istihada. So there is no fixed period or number of days mentioned in the Quran or in the Hadith. There is scholarly difference regarding what days can you consider after so many days of bleeding can you consider at istihada or a non-menstrual bleeding or a normal vaginal bleeding. Majority of the scholars, they say that if the bleeding is for more than 15 days, you can consider it at istihada, meaning a non-menstrual bleeding or an abnormal vaginal bleeding. But there are scholars who say that since there is no definite number of days mentioned in the Quran or the Hadith, some scholars say that it can be a menstrual cycle, whether it's for 2 days, 5 days, 10 days, 17 days, even until if it's for more than a month. If it is for 30 days, then you can consider it as istihada, or if it stops for 2 or 3 days. So there's scholarly difference between the two opinions. Majority of the scholars say that if it's more than 15 days, you can call it as a non-menstrual bleeding or istihada or an abnormal vaginal bleeding. But some scholars say that no, only if it touches 30 days or more or crosses 30 days, can you call it as an abnormal vaginal bleeding or non-menstrual bleeding, or if it stops for 2 days in between. But majority scholars, they say more than 15 days, as you mentioned in talk. Now coming to your question. But there can be no periods even for a long duration of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Medically it's possible. So when Sheikh Uthaymeen was asked the question, so he said that there is possibility a woman may not have bleeding for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, even 5 months, and suddenly she may have a bleeding even for a month. So maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala held her menstrual cycle and all came out together. So Shaykh Uthaymeen has 2 views. Even more than 15 days you can consider as istihada. And one of his views is that if it is 30 days or more, it is then only called as istihada. And when the same question was asked to Sheikh bin Baz, he said that if it's for more than 15 days, yes, you can count as istihada. But a lady asked that she bled for 17 days and after that stopped. So Sheikh bin Baz said, consider your menstrual cycle was for 70 days. After that have a ghusl and you can start praying. The other lady asked him that I bled for 18 days and then it stopped. So Sheikh bin Baz said, consider your menstrual cycle was for 18 days and after that have ghusl and you start praying, and if it's the month of Ramadan you start fasting. So here we come to know that there is scholarly difference of opinion after how many days can you count it as istihada or a non-menstrual bleeding. Now if you read the hadith of Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, she says that Fatima bint Hubaysh, may Allah be pleased with her, she asked the Prophet that she has been having istihada and she's not praying and she's feeling uncomfortable. So the Prophet said that if it's istihada, if it's a non-menstrual bleeding, it may be a vein. So what you do is you see what were your periods earlier, and for those days you don't pray, count those days as your menstrual cycle. And after that have ghusl and start praying. If it is the month of Ramadan, you start fasting. The similar hadith, now this hadith mentioned in about Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari. There is an hadith in Sahih Muslim where it says that Habiba, she went to the Prophet and said that I am having istihada and my bleeding is continuous. So the Prophet said that you check what was your normal cycle previously, and based on that, calculate those number of days, and you think that is your menstrual cycle, and have a ghusl after that and start praying. For example, if a woman has a menstrual cycle from first day of the month for 5 days, then you think, and if you start having istihada, and when you come to know that istihada more than 15 days have passed or more than 1 month have passed, and you realize, then you start thinking, okay, now this is istihada, so my main menstrual cycle is only from the first day to the 5th day for 5 days. And after that, you have your ghusl and start praying and think that the rest of the bleeding, it is istihada. Or maybe a woman has a menstrual cycle from the 5th day for the next 7 days. So when you start having istihada, you have been bleeding for more than a month, then you consider that your 5th day is your cycle for next 7 days. After the next 7 days are over, you have ghusl, and even if it bleeds, you think it's istihada and you can pray. So from these two hadith, it is very clear that the Prophet said, if you have istihada, then you follow your previous cycle. Now, regarding istihada, there are 3 conditions. The first condition is that before having istihada, the abnormal vaginal bleeding, you had a normal menstrual period. Maybe for many years, you are a woman who's having a menstrual period and the cycle was regular. Every 5th day you had for about 5 days or 6 days. The cycle may vary. Some people have for 5 days, some for 6 days, some for 10 days. It was regular. So when you're having regular menstrual cycle for many months or many years, and then istihada starts, then you follow the hadith of the Prophet. That based on your previous cycles, whether your cycle, your menstruation was for 5 days or 7 days or 8 days, count those 5 days or 7 days or 8 days as your menstrual cycle. And after that, you do your ghusl